All right, you guys. I won't force you to listen to any more of my Fauci and Fauci jokes. It's just crazy because what are the odds that there are two people, Fauci and Fauci, who were studying the same stuff, viruses, virology? I mean, it's just nuts. And this fits right into what we're going to talk about today. I'll admit that I hesitated for years to decode the film that we're going to look at today. But, God's timing is perfect, isn't it? Because Super Mario Brothers is happening right now. What you're going to see today is Trump. You're going to see shots. You're going to see parasites, fungus, mold. You're going to see germophobia. You're going to see the Electric Kingdom and the Twin Towers destruction predicted, and dozens of other revelations from the movie Super Mario Brothers from 1993 that was filmed long before even the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, but yet you're going to see all these elements in the film. In fact, it was so loaded that I had to break this up into two parts. Today will be part one. Tomorrow will be part two. Now, before you dismiss this as some silly movie that crashed at the box office, you need to watch these decodes because it reveals so much. Now, before we get into the films, and welcome everybody, and thanks for coming to the channel today. I know it's early for some of you, but, some of our weekend shows are some of the best shows. Before we get into this decode, we need to look at this woman, Marion Koopman. You can't make this up. Now, why do I say that? Well, because her name has the Mario Brothers in it and King Koopa. Now, what does she have to do with any of this? Well, first of all, she's 66 years old, and she and another virologist named Fauci, which is this guy here, who was born in 1966. So she's 66. This guy was born in 1966. We covered this guy in a previous show. This is why we were doing the Fauci and Fauci jokes. Do you feel like eating your neighbor? Call Fauci and Fauci. Okay, that was a dumb one. But anyway, let's keep going with this. So, why did we cover this guy? Well, he was at the White House and meeting with Fauci during the pandemic, and he was studying camels as a vector, as the main vector and source of MERS. And then we found that quote from Trump from way back in 2015 saying, "I'm breeding microscopic camels." Now, to clarify his quotes, that was the Daily News. There is no video footage of him saying that. In fact, it explains in that particular article from the Daily News, which is a reputable, just as reputable as anyone else, has not been contested by Trump or anyone else in Trump's camp as false news. They said in that article that the actual video of Trump saying that did not make the cut, along with some other comments from that town hall. It was called the Pancakes and Politics Town Hall. I believe it was in New Hampshire. It's where it took place. And those comments, along with several others covered in that news article, did not make the edit for television, and therefore they found the transcript. And look, you can argue that all day long. What, did he really say it or did he not? But the way I look at it, if someone doesn't call it out and say I never said that, then they said it. Kind of like his quotes from Mar-a-Lago supporting the LGBT community and saying that he was going to work for them during if he was reelected on the Marriage Act Day. That was reported by the Politico. Well, he never condemned that as false news, so he must have really said it, is the way I look at it. because he could easily say, I didn't say that. He could have went and did that on his, either on Twitter or wherever else he wants to, or on his True Social, right? So anyway, back to this, because this is crazy. Fauci and Fauci, right? Now, it's not only the names of these people that is very odd, but it's also Mario and his brother, King Koopa. Well, it's not his brothers. It's the Mario brothers and King Koopa in this woman's name here. And what was she all about? Well, she worked with Fauci and works on virology and all these things. And her legacy seems to line up with some of the stuff we're going to cover today. So we're going to check that out and see how this fits into the Matrix. Now, we're going to start something new on this channel. I'm going to be keeping notes of the numbers, because I realize sometimes when I'm telling you guys these numbers, they can probably go right over your head. You have to actually see them and hear them. Okay? And so that way we can start to keep a notes page, and then I'll copy and paste those notes into the pinned comment so that you can visually see the synchronicities as we break them down. So, first one we're going to type in here is Koopman is 66 years old, Fauci born in 66. You're going to see the significance of that as we move through the show. Let's see here. There we go. All right, so we're good. Let's start there, and we'll just add to this as we move through the show here. Now, let me check in with you guys. I guess is everything all right? The sound is good. All right. Now, what else do we have? Let's keep going. Now, Fauci, remember, was responsible for the studies on how camels were the source of COVID. Remember that, for MERS COVID, not regular COVID. Now, the synchronicities go very deep with the Super Mario Brothers King Koopa, because the Mario Brothers was all about fungus. And Koopman, Marion Koopman, has said some pretty profound things and chilling things about fungus. Let's read some of her statements. All I did was type in her name, and I said, okay, what has she said about fungus? Marion Koopman, fungus. And here we have some statements from her on her Twitter. Very elegant series of studies putting a fungus on my list of possible foodborne pathogens. What else has she said? This was March 11th, 2021. There were illnesses associated to that mine thought to be related to fungal infection. It had a thick layer of guano that they removed. Guano is bat droppings. What else do we have here? So, she's made some statements about fungal infections. Now, as a virologist, this is probably something that many of them do, but you're going to see how all this fits in as we start to break down Super Mario Brothers 1993. The film opens by bringing basically the days of Noah to the present time. Why do I say that? Because it's the last days. The last days, the Bible says, will be like the days of Noah. And I anticipate dinosaurs will return in some way, shape, or form. And I truly believe that dinosaurs were wiped out by the flood. Not millions of years ago, but thousands of years ago. Let's take a look at this. Now, I've got this graphic here. Her at 66 years old, and with her King Koopa next to her name, Mario Brothers Koopa. Let's keep watching her.
And hey, what if they found a way back? What if the impact of that meteorite created a parallel dimension where the dinosaurs, just like us, continue to thrive and evolve into intelligent, vicious, aggressive beings?
Now, the question becomes, now that we have the 66 Matrix established here, right? Based on the numbers that we opened the decode with here. The question becomes, does the number 66 appear in the film? And yes, it absolutely does. In the opening scene. Fulton Flowers, FF is 66. Now, what's the context of this? Well, this is just after Daisy, who's the princess in the film, is born out of a dinosaur egg. Fulton Flowers. So Daisy is FF 66. She's the flower born out of the dinosaur egg. Let's keep watching here.
Welcome to Miraculous World, where each week we ask unanswered questions. The universe next door. An alternate world separated by time and space and yet somehow joined and contiguous with our own.
Now in this scene, Mario answers the phone as the TV show you just heard is talking all about alternate universes, alternate dimensions, and the scene opens in the living room of Mario and Luigi, the Mario brothers. And obviously they're plumbers, but the thing that stood out to me most were the copper pipes up against the wall. Now this is all gonna play out here as we go through this decode. Don't forget the copper pipes, the copper and lead pipes, because this is what will become the syringe symbolism in the film.
Alternate world separated by time and space and yet somehow joined and contiguous with our own. Today on our Miraculous World, another dimension.
Here you see the copper pipes prominently displayed, just stood up against the wall here. Okay. Pipes are syringes. They're needles. They're basically a giant form of it. Let's keep watching here.
Wow, we're going broke. We ain't going broke, Mario. We're already there.
Luigi then puts the pins on his face like Pinhead. That's the injection. And this is when he becomes infected. And this is when Luigi can see into other dimensions as well as communicate with the fungus.
We ain't going broke, Mario. We're already there.
As university students continue their search for dinosaur bones.
And then we, of course, see the Twin Towers. Now, the Twin Towers were bombed earlier that year, 1993. But the Mario Brothers actually was filmed long before the 1993 bombing. And at this point of the decode, I wasn't sure how the Twin Towers were going to fit in. So I just captured the clip anyway, but because I wanted to document it. But what I found later is shocking. Now, the context here is that there is an excavation going on right near the river here, and they found dinosaur bones.
We don't even have any security here. That's
Why you were talking about Scapelli?
yeah, well, Scapelli was down here with his crew blasting at the site. We don't even have any security here. That's
Why you were talking about Scapelli?
yeah, well, Scapelli was down here with his crew blasting at the site.
Blasting at the site, no security. Exactly what would happen in 93 and again in 9/11. Long after this film came out or was filmed. And so now you can see I was glad that I recorded that earlier sighting of the towers, because it fits right into this very next clip that happened right after the last one. Let's keep going. Because then Daisy takes Luigi underground.
And that's when they found the fossils. Look at this one. The way the bones fit here and the opposable thumb, it's almost as if he was a monster trying to be a human being.
A monster trying to be a human, as Daisy admires the monster. That would be the devil and the fallen angels who want to be human. And just after that scene, the Scapelli brothers end up flooding the excavation site because they want to get rid of Daisy so they can buy the land or something. I can't remember what the reason was. So there's your flood reference. Our clue that the flood is what wiped out the dinosaurs.
Well, I don't know exactly what to do. Mario, Scapelli's flooding the site.
We need your help.
We're going in.
Down here! Hurry!
Yeah.
And that's when it hit me. Many of you probably noticed the shirt that Luigi was wearing. The yin and the yang. What this is the mixing of the darkness and the light, the above, below, which is exactly what the film is about. There's an underworld that's a copy or a mirror of our world. And this yin and yang is actually on fire. It's got flames around it. I think I counted 24 flames around his yin and yang on his shirt. And he wears this throughout the film. You guys, we're barely 20 minutes into the film at this point, and already all of that symbolism. But wait and see what you hear and see next. This is crazy.
116 open end.
Bottom 116 open end as Mario is asking for tools from Luigi. And of course, there's your 911 converted or inverted. And he says it twice, or they say it twice. Twin Towers, 9/11 upside down. They knew the date 8 years before it happened.
Daisy! Is that you?
So then Daisy gets abducted by these pair of minions from the underworld called Spike and Iggy. They take her underground into this underground portal, and Luigi follows so he can try to rescue her.
Did you see that?
Yeah, Duke.
I got a feeling. Where's Luigi?
Then, after Luigi goes through, Mario follows him, and this blew me away. Watch this.
Luigi!
Because he goes in, this is actually Mario going through the portal as well, and look at what I found on the wall. Now I inverted it so you could see it better, but there's the 911. Let me blow this up for you, for the naysayers out there. 911. Then we get a Trump sighting. Not exactly, but thwomp. Twomp. Now what is this? Well, something weird is going on here. Because not only do we see Twomp, we also see snakes everywhere. In the world of King Koopa. Kings have crowns and coronas, don't they? Watch. Now there are snakes everywhere. There's a snake there. There's Koopa. Now there's some kind of election that seems to be going on. There's another snake. It says fire snake. Now later we find out that the Twomp store is where they sell these basically rocket shoes. And the people with a little bit of money can afford to buy these rocket shoes, and they can basically put them on their feet and fly around. And everybody votes for King Koopa. Now, at this point, Daisy gets abducted and she's taken into this taxi. And then it all hit me. This is the Electric Kingdom. All of the cars, everything is running on electricity down here in this alternate universe, including the taxi cab. It reminds me of those electric buses with the antennas sticking up out of the back. And the whole movie is all with these chase scenes with these electric cars. The electric kingdom. This is why I'm telling you guys, God's timing is perfect. I know many of you have asked me to watch this film probably 2 years ago. But now the timing's perfect because we are entering into the electric kingdom. We're also having the fungus element, the rise of the fungal apocalypse, which you're also going to see mirrored in the movie as well. This is really creepy. Watch. Now here's where things get really creepy, because the underworld is covered in fungus. The same stuff that the scientist Marion Koopmans was talking about in her Twitter tweets. You can't make this up, you guys. Watch.
What are we stuck with? This pit hole, germs everywhere, fungus. An endless supply of food, clean air, water. And we've been exiled here after the meteorite struck, while mammals roam free in the other dimension.
I'm okay, yeah. You're the one without the patent. Yeah, well, you're the old one.
Just covered in fungus. And then we see that in Koopa's world, here are the pyramids of Giza. That's what this scene looked like to me. These two pointed pyramids coming up out of the ground. This looked like Giza to me.
Our world with theirs and get rid of the mammals.
I captured the princess. She's being defungused.
But I took her through the gateway.
I recognized her.
So, you just heard him say defungused, because when people pass through the portal, they have to remove the fungus off of them. It's just unbelievable. Let's keep watching.
Plumbers. The plumbers took it.
Plumbers. Plumber alert.
Now, obviously Mario brothers are plumbers. As you just heard, plumbing comes from the word plumbum. The Latin word plumbum, which means lead. This is the periodic symbol for lead, as a matter of fact. So you have lead pipes. This is why they call them plumbers, in case you didn't know. Here you see the electric cars, the electric universe. Now, at this point, the Mario brothers get robbed by a lady with the Trump jet shoes. Watch.
You want to give us the rock bag lady?
Come and get it, big boy.
Now, what did this lady steal from them? Well, there's this crystal. And Daisy had it, but then Luigi got a hold of it. And the crystal was supposed to be merged back with the source meteor to open the portal to the gates of hell. Let's keep watching here. There you see the Trump shoes. Everybody wants to buy these jetpack shoes. And you see the T in above and below. The Trump T symbol. Now, there's more. I don't think I'm trying to stretch this to go after Trump, because other people recognized the King Koopa connection to Trump, not just us, and long before we ever looked at this film. So let's keep watching here, because in Koopa's world, there is no free speech. Watch what happens to Toad as he tries to sing about the injustice.
Ain't got no water anywhere. Food's bad. So the air.
You know the law, Toad. Hey, wait a minute. You can't arrest a guy for just singing a song.
So he gets arrested for just singing a song. all this is happening right now, you guys. Now, you can place the blame wherever you want for why there's censorship, but the way I look at it is when you get the whole fake news meme that was pushed, and all of a sudden you have the world thinking that, oh, people, it's dangerous to say things that are fake. And you begin raising awareness in a very, in a way that's not constructive, then you actually cause the problem. You actually become the cause of the censorship. You guys, we've had worse censorship. We had worse censorship under Trump. Believe it or not, it's died down a little bit. And I'm not saying that Biden's any better, but there's something about aggression. Aggression breeds aggression. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And Trump was very good at being aggressive and basically making the world think that the next words that came out of his mouth were going to cause great harm to the American people and that they had to shut him up. Right? That was the meme. And people went along with it, which is why we had record censorship during his presidency. I mean, even the voice algorithms were activated on YouTube, which they're not so much anymore, but they were during those years. Now, let's keep watching here, because the Mario Brothers also get arrested along with Toad, and they get defungused too.
For anti-Koopa stars, we can. What was that?
The Fungus unit! The Fungus is choking the city!
Move! Move! Prepare to be Fungus. I'm not going in there.
Look at the 113 on the door here. So this is kind of like an A113 sighting, right? Because that's just crazy. So they get defungused. They go into these cages like a detention center.
Didn't hear the cramped attention. With brothers from another dimension.
So they're sitting in their cage. Toad's above them, in the cage above them. And then you learn that the fungus that is down in the underworld is actually their old king. The king of the underworld. And he got turned into fungus by King Koopa, who has a machine that can de-evolve people. So basically, King Koopa de-evolved the king into a fungus, is the story in the movie. Now, King Koopa can also evolve people with his machine, making them super smart. Watch.
You know all that fungus out there? That's our old king. It's true. And he's been de-evolved. That's right, he's been de-evolved into fungus. Larry Lazard?
Now, what is the true meaning of the fungus? Well, the fungus happens in the presence of demonic activity. When the pit was opened, that's when fungus and mold begin to take over our world, just like in the series Archive 81, where the more and more that the portal was opened, the pit was also opened, and also the fungus and mold begin to grow in the building in that particular series. Well, the same thing happens here. Because of the demonic presence, the fungus takes over all of the underworld. Now, it was at this part right here that you're going to see next that I realized that Koopa is in fact Trump. He meets the Mario Brothers pretending to be their attorney so he could try to pump them for information about where this crystal is, this rock. Because all Koopa wants is this rock so he can open up a gate from the underworld into our reality. But watch this. Here's the part that hit me. Because Koopa shakes the Mario Brothers' hands and then he wipes them off as if they're dirty. We all know that Trump's a germaphobe. Let's keep watching here.
Of Lazard, Conda, Dactyl, and Cohen.
Now, there's only two ways you can shake this. Because it's obvious that he's representing Trump. Okay? There's only two ways that you could shake this. And let me check in with you guys. We'll keep going with this decode. The only two things that can be happening here is either Trump's being mocked in the movies, or this is predictive programming. There's no denying that he represents Trump, okay, at this point. It's an exact match. The orange hair, the hair thing, the germophobia, and it keeps going. There's even an article that I'm going to show you that someone else had discovered that the Dennis Hopper, who plays the part of King Koopa, nailed the Donald Trump character here, long before we said anything about this. So, you have to decide, what's this all about? Why is Trump appearing in all these movies going back through time for decades and decades, all the way back to the 1950s, when he was a boy, in the Western? Track down a man named Trump selling umbrellas and who built a wall. You can't just say that they were gaslighting him that far back. This man is channeling some kind of a demon. Now let's keep watching here. Good morning, everybody. So he wipes his hands off. He's a germaphobe.
Who said that? Koopa clown is one evil, egg-sucking son of a snake. Ah! No one touches President Koopa.
And he calls himself a snake. You knew I was a snake when you let me in. Now, Koopa has all these different minions that work for him. The cops work for him. So if you think about it, cop, K-O-P, you could spell it K-O-P, is the Koopa. Koopa cops. There's also going to be these pinheads. They're basically like Nazi SS soldiers, basically, with pinheads.
Koopa, well, you just said you were wrong.
One evil.
Well, you just said you were wrong.
One evil, egg-sucking son of a snake. Did I lie?
This scene right here is worth 1,000,000 words right here. Did I lie? That's the signature Trump. He didn't lie to anybody. He told everyone the truth, but they still let him in. Wow. Now, what happens is when... Oh, let's keep going here. Oh, so here's the article that makes the comparison between Trump and Koopa. This was a 2017 article. Let's read this. It says, which quickly brings us onto the big bad himself, Mr. Dennis Hopper. And man, what a guy. Channeling Donald Trump to a T in the role. He's both crazy and immense. The only criticism we could actually think of is whoever told him to tone it down with the T-Rex hands thing he was doing is a fool. A fool. More T-Rex hands, please. T-Rex hands for president. And here's the article called Off the Record on the QT. Oh, QT. QT. And this was dated 2017, the year of Q. 17 is Q is the 17th letter of the alphabet. Now, what else is going on here? Well, when people speak out against Koopa, he de-evolves them with a special machine, turning them into a pinhead. And listen to this. There's a reference to the royal family.
You may think of evolution as an upward process. Things evolve from primeval slime up to single-cell organisms.
So he's describing the de-evolution process. Watch this.
Simon, de-evolve him now.
Now that's Toad. He gets de-evolved into a pinhead.
Even our musical friend Toad can become a loyal child of the royal family.
A loyal child of the royal family. And this is where you start thinking to yourself, is there something to the late Queen Elizabeth?
De-evolution, of course, works the opposite way. Back to simpler forms.
Hey, Mario, look at this. These little mushroom things on the fungus. Hey, look at that. What is that?
Great. A building with athlete's foot.
Warning, leaving power grid.
So, this point, Mario Brothers escape from jail. They steal a cop car and they go off the grid, outside the power grid.
Warning, leaving power grid, powering down.
I can't stop this thing. I can't see where I'm going. Look out, Mario!
They lose all power of their electric car, of course. And this is exactly where they want us. They don't want us outside of their grid, and they take away all your power when you leave the grid.
Fungus just saved us.
What are you talking about? It was my driving that saved us.
Let's get out of here before this fungus stuff eats us alive. It wasn't your driving that just saved us. That tunnel just sneezed us out, and then this giant booger caught us in there. That's what saved us.
Excellent. After the merge, it will be nice to see the humans de-evolve, won't it?
So, de-evolution after the merge. The merge is mixing the steel and watery clay. The merge is mixing the fallen one's DNA with our DNA, and then de-evolve humanity, which is what's happening as we speak right now. There are less and less awake people. The love of the truth is growing cold. Everyone's just going along to get along because we're being de-evolved as we speak.
That I am.
Then Koopa meets the Princess Daisy. And behind him, you see literally the Twin Towers on fire. And like I've always told you guys, I've always believed that Trump is the silent ruler of New York. And he knows exactly what happened to the Twin Towers. That I am a blasphemous statement, says King Koopa. I am. Well, there's only one I am, and that's Jesus, not Apollo.
Ruler of all that you see.
The devil is the ruler of this world.
You say it. Dinosaur. Just don't move your hands around like a...
Look at how it's in the... You can't make this up, you guys. He's talking and the towers are on fire behind him in the background.
Small wounded animal.
Then he shows the towers in Lower Manhattan on the globe, which is Trump's globe, in front of the International Hotel, based off of the Unisphere and Perisphere of the World's Fairs, 1939, 1964. He copied the design and put it in front of his International Hotel at Columbus Circle. We've covered all this.
A few miserable streets and an endless desert.
He calls it a few miserable streets and an endless desert. I think the desert represents the desertification of the womb after what you're going to see next. There's one shot.
Where's my father?
There's two shots. Another picture worth 1,000 words. Some of you are in denial. Others of you can't even believe what you're seeing right now. Others decided not to tune in because it just seems so silly. For those of you that did tune in, you are realizing that you are seeing something that you've never seen before, and that is the deep, dark truth about the world we live in. You're seeing past the veil of the Matrix into the deep truth that very few, it's a very narrow gate here, isn't it? Very, very few are seeing it. Then the snake reveals himself.
They never forget the first time they kissed by Elizabeth.
Yes, you see.
There you go. Now, what was that scene about? Well, apparently the princess was descended from the lizard as well. And so he's telling her this as he shapeshifts from into a lizard. Now, I think at this point we're going to leave it off and we'll continue to part 2 tomorrow, because tomorrow you are going to see the Twin Towers destroyed. You're going to see Trump's logo on the Twin Towers. So, as we close the show today, let's ask the question: who do the Mario Brothers really represent? Let's go and see what your guys' thoughts are on who the Mario Brothers really represent. 2 shots and then you're a lizard. There you go. Blind Fear. That, in the movie, of course. Wow. And we'll break a little bit of this down more tomorrow. Snakes in a plane. Are you ready for this? Snakes in a plane. What is that, really? A plane is a hypodermic needle. It's a fuselage. It's a hollow tube. The snakes in a plane is a needle. Now, what do the Mario Brothers represent? Let's see who gets it. I'll see what you guys come up with first, and then we'll get into what my thoughts are on it. All right. Well, here are my thoughts on it. Now, etymologically, the name Mario means Mars. But what if Mario also means mark, like the mark? And what if the Mario Brothers are really representative of Cain and Abel? We know that Cain was marked, don't we? So Luigi becomes Cain, marked and exiled to the Mushroom Kingdom, where only he can communicate with the fungus. Mario doesn't communicate with the fungus. It's only Luigi who can talk to the fungus, because Luigi got the mark. When did Luigi get the mark? When he stuck all those needles in his face at the beginning of the movie. What do the Mario Brothers represent as plumbers? Well, they got a truckload of needles, don't they? They've got lead needles, which are the pipes. They've got copper needles, which are the pipes. The syringe pipes, the infective agent. And so therefore, Luigi's mind has been merged with the fungal hive mind. The portal. There must be a portal at New York, which is what we'll talk about tomorrow. The portal where 9/11 happened, and 19 years later, COVID-19 happened. So, plungers, plumbers, yes, Kim, good job. All this is etymology, it's wordplay, it's all of that. Isn't it? So, hopefully the rest of you will catch the show. I know it's Sunday morning. We're missing probably half the people that normally show up to the show. Like I said, it could have been the silly title, but it is what it is, you guys. In a pretty much a lame movie, got very poor reviews. All that truth came out of it. And wait, we're only halfway through it. The rest of the movie is even more profound, because you're going to see the Twin Towers actually destroyed in part 2. All right, you guys, we'll be back tomorrow with part 2. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and thanks for showing up. Take care and be safe.